Welcome to the deep dive. You've shared some really interesting material with us, clearly aimed at building that broader view, sharpening strategic thinking.
Yeah, absolutely.
So let's get straight to it. We're going to explore this really interesting idea of altitude in business, in leadership. It's a concept that draws on insights from global strategist Sophie Krantz.
Right. And what jumps out immediately, I think, is that image used in the source,
Yeah.
the climbing the mast idea on a sailing yacht.
Oh, yeah.
Think about it, right? Lots of people on deck, they can see the horizon, fine. But it's the person who actually, takes the initiative, goes up there.
Braving the height and the wind.
Exactly. They get that huge, unobstructed view. It's quite a powerful metaphor.
It really is. And it's not just about a better view, is it? It fundamentally changes your perspective.
Mhm.
From up there, the text says you start seeing the whole system, how it all moves together.
The day-to-day stuff kind of shrinks,
Yeah. Yeah, the noise fades. And the bigger patterns, they become really clear. So our goal here in this deep dive is to unpack that. What does it mean to get strategic altitude? And, well, why is it such a game changer for leading effectively, for making smart calls?
And, the first key thing is that contrast. Being down there in the thick of things, as the source calls it,
Right, in the weeds.
versus having the skill, the discipline maybe to zoom out. It's about shifting gears, moving from just react.
To recalibrating, actually steering the ship, not just dealing with the waves hitting the bow.
Precisely. You can't really influence the bigger game if all your energy is focused on the immediate tiny play right in front of you.
That's such a good way to put it. It's like trying to understand a whole forest by just staring at the bark on one single tree.
You miss the ecosystem.
You miss the connections, how it all works, and yeah, the best path through it. And what's great is the material doesn't just say zoom out. It gives us actual tools. It talks about these maps that show the world differently.
Yeah, and the potential of these tools is, well, pretty compelling. Take Story.Earth, for instance.
Okay.
Instead of just, say, reading a report about deforestation, you can use their satellite images to see the changes happening, almost in real time.
Wow. So it's visual storytelling with data.
Exactly. Seeing the impact visually,
Yeah,
it just adds this whole other layer to understanding. It hits differently.
absolutely.
Yeah.
And then there's Globaya. Am I saying that right?
Globaya, yeah, it visualizes these super complex, interconnected global systems. Think like trade flows, energy grids, ecology, how they all weave together.
So it shows the planet almost as one dynamic network.
That's the idea. It really drives home how interconnected things are, stuff that seems totally separate on the surface.
Okay, that's fascinating.
And then Earth Time from Carnegie Mellon,
Yeah.
that uses a time-lapse approach with global data.
Oh, interesting. How does that work?
It visualizes these long-term changes, maybe climate change impacts over decades or shifts in global inequality. You see the trends actually unfolding over time.
So it gives you that perspective on the long arc of change.
Exactly. Powerful stuff.
And our world in data, we've mentioned them before, haven't we? Still an incredible resource.
Absolutely essential, I'd say. It's packed with clear, evidence-based visuals, data trends on everything from health, environment, economics.
Yeah, if you want to ground your thinking in solid data, that's the place. Reliable.
Totally. And for looking further out, there's International Futures, or IFs. That's more of a sophisticated scenario planning tool.
Okay, so that's about modeling different potential futures.
Right. Based on different assumptions, different variables. If you're trying to strategize for, say, the next 10, 20 years, that kind of tool could be invaluable, exploring possibilities.
Makes sense. And there's World Pop, too.
Yeah, WorldPop gives you incredibly detailed spatial data. Where people live, how cities are growing, migration patterns, mobility.
So understanding demographic shifts and what they mean on the ground.
Exactly that level of detail. Real insight there. And finally, Gapminder. Their whole mission is about busting myths, right? Challenging outdated worldviews using data, making it accessible.
So these aren't just abstract concepts. Like the source says, these are actual strategic vantage points we can access.
That's the key. They're available. And from these vantage points, the benefits of seeing patterns from altitude, they become really clear.
Okay, like what specifically?
Well, the source points out you start seeing connections across different regions, different markets, even across time.
Ah, so not just what's happening now in my area, but how it links elsewhere.
Precisely. And instead of just firefighting immediate problems, you start to anticipate those bigger long-term shifts, the ones that might otherwise catch you completely off guard.
It's about picking up those faint signals, maybe. The early indicators that you'd miss if you're just focused down low.
You start to break out of that very localized view. You really begin to grasp how interconnected the global landscape actually is.
Imagine seeing, like, a small change in one market. But from up high, you realize, hang on, that's the start of a massive global trend.
That's the kind of insight altitude can give you.
Right.
And understanding those broader shifts, well, that feeds directly into more purpose-driven leadership.
How so?
When you've got that clearer view of the big picture, all the complexities and, frankly, the volatility of today's world, you know, conflicts, climate issues, economic uncertainty,
Yeah, that's a lot.
it all kind of falls into a wider context. And that understanding then leads naturally to the importance of scenario planning.
Right. Which isn't just about data, is it? The source mentions imagination, too.
Exactly. Good scenario planning needs both. It needs to be grounded in the data, the trends we can see with these tools.
But also requires the creativity to imagine different ways things could unfold.
Yes, it's not about predicting the one future. That's impossible, right?
Right. It's not a crystal ball.
It's about preparing for a range of potential futures, building resilient strategies that can adapt, that can cope with different kinds of challenges, like a chess player, thinking multiple moves ahead.
Thinking through different responses, different possibilities.
Exactly. It's about building options.
Yeah.
So you're not just hoping for the best. You're actively equipped, or your organization is, to navigate whatever comes. And like the text says, that kind of foresight doesn't come from staying at sea level.
And this whole altitude thing, it's not just literal climbing, is it? It's also about gaining a strategic, a mental vantage point.
Absolutely. The source talks about leaders who get this altitude as people who cross borders.
What does that mean, crossing borders?
Well, it's insightful. It's not just geographical borders. It's crossing the lines between different industries, different sectors.
Yeah.
Even breaking out of our own set ways of thinking, our own mental border.
Challenging assumptions.
Yes. And when leaders do that, adopt that higher level view, their priorities become much sharper, clearer. They get better at spotting and building alliances that actually have long-term strategic value. And, crucially, they start seeing those hidden barriers, the things invisible to people stuck in their own silo.
And this all comes back around to that sailor climbing the mast, doesn't it?
It does. The source reminds us,
Wow.
even if everyone kind of knows a broader view is needed.
It often takes one person, someone with the courage, the initiative, to actually go up there.
To take that higher view and then guide others with that clarity they've gained, it really highlights the role of individual leadership in driving these strategic shifts.
That's a powerful point.
And that brings it right back to the listener, doesn't it? This altitude idea.
Yeah.
It's not just for CEOs of giant corporations.
No, absolutely not.
The ability to get a broader perspective that has real value for anyone trying to make better decisions, navigate complexity, in their own world.
Yeah, think about a project manager seeing how their piece fits into the company's big goals. Or an entrepreneur spotting trends outside their immediate niche.
Exactly. That wider context is always useful.
And ultimately, as the source material puts it so well, altitude gives clarity. It shows the system. When things feel chaotic or stuck or just, out of control, taking that step back, gaining that bigger picture, that can be incredibly grounding.
It's often the essential first step before you can really play a bigger game, as they say, before you can act with real intention within that larger context.
So to sort of wrap up our deep dive here, we've explored this really compelling idea of altitude, getting that broader strategic perspective as, well, fundamental for effective leadership today and for just understanding our super interconnected world.
And it's not just theory, is it? It's backed up by real tools, real ways to gain that perspective. And fundamentally, it requires a shift in mindset, how we choose to see and engage with what's around us.
Right. So a final thought maybe for everyone listening, think about your own work, your own life. Where might you benefit from climbing the mast, metaphorically speaking, of course?
What opportunities, what challenges might look different from a higher vantage point?
Yeah. Maybe take a few minutes, explore one of those platforms we mentioned, Our World in Data perhaps, or Gapminder, just to start seeing the world through that slightly wider lens. It might reshape your understanding in interesting ways.